Okay, I'm recording.
I'm recording.
All right, cool. Hey, all right. So the craziest fucking thing happened this morning. I'm just no. This is a legit story. I don't have it with me, but I'll show you afterward. You have to believe me on this, okay? This is fucking insane.
Have to.
All right. You just have to believe me on it. I'll send you picture evidence. I have a picture on my phone. Anyway, so I go to get my hair cut this morning, right?
You don't have any hair, Kevin.
I don't have because I got all of it cut.
You got one haircut?
Shut the fuck up. That's the lamest fucking joke. Joke retired. Anyway, so I go to get my haircut at my collective thing known as hair.
Hairs.
I get it cut.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
the collective
Hairs.
thing known as hair, comprised of many hairs. I get it cut. It is a collective
Just
thing.
once.
It's
Just
a
cut
singular
once.
thing. If anything, I could actually call the collective a they. So if you want to continue with the grammar that we're trying to promote here on this podcast, Odie, I think you'll adhere to the singular they of hair.
Fine.
Anyway, so I get my hair cut. This is great. So I get my fucking haircut. No, this is unbelievable. This is insane. So I get my haircut, and I come home, and I'm just getting stuff ready for the podcast. I knock over, like the little adjustment earbud things for these? I knock over a little pack. I've got like a new Bluetooth set of earbuds, and I knock over the adjustable ear sets, so the removable rubber earpieces, right? And they fall on the floor, and I'm like, okay, cool, I'll pick them up. And I pick up 3, and there's supposed to be 4 in the pack, so I'm like, all right, well, the 4th one must be around here somewhere. Classic moment, looking under the bed. Nothing has ever been under my bed. I've vacuumed under my bed twice since I've been in this room, okay? Twice I've vacuumed under my bed. No one else comes in my room. You know this. I was standing in my room the other night, and I was like, wow, how peaceful. Why would I let anybody ever disturb this peace, right? It's amazing. I love my room. It's my sanctuary. I sleep in there. I drink tea in there. I do yoga in there. It's great. I go to look under the bed, and there is this weird thing by one of the center posts on my bed, because it's a platform bed. So I'm like, oh, what's that? And I grab it, and it's a metal thing, and it's upside down. And I see within it, there's this little thing that says Defiant on both sides. And then I flip it over, and it's a fucking hammer and sickle. It is the communist symbol on a belt buckle. I have never seen that object before in my entire life. Okay? And it is the fucking hammer and sickle, and then on the inside says Defiant. And I'm like, my first thought is, what the fuck, right? My second thought is, I'm a sleeper agent. And I've now been activated, but here's the thing. That makes me the worst sleeper agent ever, because I've been activated, and I don't think any of my protocol has changed. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I'm just so I guess I have to go get like a paper and see like if maybe there's an election coming up.
I mean, there is an election coming up.
A hyper-democratic candidate that I need to assassinate or something. You ever see The Jackal with Bruce Willis, right? Maybe I'm the Jackal with Bruce Willis, but it's like a comedy instead of a serious political thriller, right? And I'm just going to be running around all willy-nilly trying to solve what it is that I'm supposed to be sleeper agenting around here.
I think
I'm a sleeper agent, Odie.
I mean, your protocol must
not only am I the captain of the ship, I'm a sleeper agent.
Your protocol was to be in local theater and learn how to portray not only a wolf, because you have to be a wolf when you're a sleeper agent, but also you have to be charming. And that's why you were the wolf in Prince Charming.
I already do all that. I would be the worst sleeper agent ever. I am. I just am, because my activation code was there, and I just went, I wonder what I'm getting at the store today. This is just like the next thing people are gonna bust through the door just doing Krav Maga, and I'm gonna have to deal with it. Yeah. Right? It'll be like it's gonna be more like what was that show, Chuck?
Oh,
it's gonna be more like that than anything else, right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna be like, what's
You're
going
just gonna
on?
bumble your way through it.
Fucking Motherland, here we go. Motherland, the sitcom. That's what it is.
I hate it.
So
at the end, are you a good guy at the end?
I don't know. I don't even know. What's my national anthem? Oh, Mother Russia, for your bread and all the bread and vodka.
We love the Kremlin.
I'm doing "Oh Beautiful for Spacious," guys. I don't even know the fucking melody. What is it supposed to be? Mother Russia,
is that even theirs?
With your bread and all your vodka, we're going to topple.
Is that even their national anthem?
No, I don't know it.
I thought it was. Russia.
I have to go kill somebody. Odie. I don't know what. You ready to clap?
I'm ready to clap.
3, 2, 1. All right.
Before you go any further,
On time every time.
hold on.
What is that?
It's a mango passion fruit Celsius that my one of my marketing people in my department got me yesterday.
I love Celsius.
Me too.
Is that communist? Can I love that
I don't know.
anymore?
I think you.
I don't know.
I don't think you can. I think it's an American thing.
I can't love Celsius?
Mm-mm.
I'm betraying the Communist Party right here and now.
You
Okay,
heard it here, folks.
hear me out. Hear me out. What are they called? What are the Russian Secret Service called? What were they called? Right?
Gestapo?
Hear me out. Gestapo.
No. That's
All right,
KGB. KGB.
Hear me out, KGB. I don't even know. Hear me out, KGB. If you're listening to this right now, I quit.
I quit.
I got your message and I quit. I want Celsius in my life.
Go pick up your belt buckle.
I enjoy Amazon's free shipping. All right? You hear me, Putin? You listen to this, Putin? Anyway, welcome back to another episode of the Unpop Podcast. I am your host, Capitan and Comrade Todo El Siempre.
Always the always.
Kevin Miner, he, him. With me as always. Is
Odie Matthews, the chef, cooking up mango passion fruit Celsius content. They, them.
That's right, Comrade.
Comrade.
You were cooking up content on the news. How was the news?
Oh,
How
yeah.
was being on the
I
news?
was on the news.
Did they give you makeup? Did you have a dressing room? What happened here? Give me all the details on being on the news. You're famous now.
I am. Denver.
You're famous.
Local Denver area.
Locally. Denver famous, baby.
Can't wait for all the autographs to roll in. The news was, it's a lot more, here's a peek behind the curtain. It's kind of boring.
That's what I asked for.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to give you a
Was
peek
a
behind
peek.
the Iron Curtain.
Oh, that's mine.
Yeah.
All right, please. I don't know shit about it. Where am I supposed to go? Fucking Panda Express? Who do I meet? I don't know. Like, what the fuck's going? I don't know. China's part of the Communist Party still, aren't they?
I don't know.
Or they have their own thing?
I guess.
I don't know, man.
Um,
I don't know.
The news was...
Should I have been researching?
Yeah, obviously.
Worst sleeper cell.
The new...
But
yeah.
There's just some guy from the KGB just shaking his head, looking at a screen right now. He's like, "I told you we should not have done.
We're not
this,
even going to
guy."
go after him.
I told
They're
you.
just like
He
slowly...
was not the one.
just
He was not the one.
Slowly closes his laptop and she's like, no.
He turns and points. It's like, this ain't it. This ain't All right, keep going. So you're on the news.
God.
It's boring.
Yeah, no.
Make it exciting, though. It's boring, but make it exciting for us.
This is what we did, Kevin. We walked into the front door. We got badges.
Wait, hold on. Say this is what we did again. I'm going to play action music.
This is what we did.
All right, yeah. What do you...
But, no, we walked in. We got badges. We walked
'Kay.
down the hall.
Great.
Went into the studio. We sat down in some
Great.
folding chairs.
Was Lorne Michaels there from Saturday Night
No.
Live?
No.
I feel like
wish.
he's part of every studio tour. That's like his real job.
He just shows up wherever
He
there's a
just
tour.
greets everybody for studio tours.
It's always busy.
Hi, I'm Lorne Michaels. Nice to meet you.
This was different.
It's Saturday Night
I
Live.
think this is a different
All right.
network. But anyways, no, we just sat down in some folding chairs, and then the first segment was about a doggy daycare.
Great.
So I got to play with the dog a little bit. That was kind of fun. And then
Great.
And then we went and sat on the couch on a soundstage and talked for 5 minutes, and then left. I was there for like maybe 15 minutes. In and out.
Oh, cool.
In and out.
Wow, great.
Yeah.
Amazing.
It was fine.
Well, it just shows you what the news in your area thinks of veterans.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
saying. Just
or
throwing
they
it
just
out
have
there.
a bunch of segments.
Could have given you Could have given you a Diet Pepsi. Could have given you something.
They offered me a small bottle of water.
They offer you a small
I
bottle of
politely
water.
declined.
Oh, nice. How nice of
I
them.
declined.
Was it good water?
No, I declined.
Say it was Dasani.
It was not Dasani.
What was it?
It was
Poland Spring?
Kirkland brand. So what is that, like Sam's Club?
The fuck is Kirkland
It's like Sam's
brand?
Club or Costco's brand.
It was cheaper than Dasani.
Yes.
They didn't even give you
Hey,
Dasani.
give me the good stuff.
They didn't. They gave you the cheapest of the cheap. Dude, tell me how you really feel without telling me how you really feel. News, huh?
How important are we? Kirkland brand water.
What do you think about? What do you think about the veterans? Oh, you Kirkland water? Yeah, you might as well have spat. On us and called it hydration. Anyway, so you're on the news now. All right, you're a star. Congrats. Hey, you're still not better than this fucking podcast. I want you to know this right now.
I'm better anyway. Now. Also, I sent that screen cap to our friend Matt Pfeiffer, and he said that he feels like that has memeable potential.
It does. Anything you do has memeable potential. You're a charismatic person. We like memes come from things that like we look at and we find entertaining or interesting, and then we just add context to it via whatever dialogue we want to prescribe over the picture, right? Yeah. That's it. It's just an interesting image that we put dialogue over, right? And it could be anything. It could be like that face when they tell you they're out of Kirkland water at Costco. I don't know. Like, what? See, it's done. You already laughed. There's the meme. We got it. It's done. Boom. Locked in. Congrats, Matt Pfeiffer, and you're welcome.
Are you recording?
I went and saw. I want to share this before we get into the podcast. I was going to have it be my jam, but it's a little too much to be the jam. I saw 6, the musical, last night.
Oh.
Have you ever seen this?
No.
Do you know what it's about?
No. Is it about 7?
Oh, okay. No. It's why would it be about 7?
I don't know.
Why would you?
Because 7, 8, 9.
Who wrote it? M. Night Shyamalan.
Because 7, 8, 9.
Here's the twist. It's actually not about 6 at all.
No, 6 was really 9 the entire time.
The whole time. So it's about the 6 wives of Henry VIII.
Oh! I've heard of that.
Yeah, and they come out, and at first they're like, hey, let's have a competition to see who likes which wife the best. But then it turns out that the real moral is it's not about comparing them, but separating them from the pragmatic and patriarchal entity that was oppressing them their entire lives.
Well, he was a bad person, objectively.
He was. I'm
going to say he sucked. I'm going to say it. Controversy,
He did suck.
I'm going to say it.
Shitty person.
He was a shitty person.
We're looking at you, Henry VIII, comrade.
Rolling over in your grave, I hope, onto
rolling over. I hope you are rolling over in your grave. All right, but no, it was actually really good. The show was amazing. The set's really cool. They kind of they have like this old like Anglican style church, but done all like pop art style, and they have a live band, and they like all the girls in the touring cast are like phenomenal singers, as you would hope. Right. Mm-hmm. So like just all in all, absolute banger of a time. Like killer, couldn't have asked for better. One of my coworkers had extra tickets, was like, hey, do you want to go see it? It was last minute. Normally on a Friday I'd be just like, punching people in the face, doing a little judo, and I was like, you know what, let's go see fucking 6. But it was good. Yeah, phenomenal. I highly recommend anybody who's like into history or pop music or like even like fictional history, because obviously it's not like completely devoted to the historical account. It's fun. It's supposed to be more fun than like, it's not like a PBS documentary. Like they don't come out and sit down and they go, so let's talk about what it means to be a feminist. No, but like really good. Highly recommend. And then I came home and I read up more because there's way too much fucking Warhammer to possibly Warhammer into this podcast.
I think we skip it.
Even if we hammered all the war, you know what? We should
skip it.
Let's talk about
Rebel Moon.
Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to recount all of the 15 Fast and Furious movies from memory and rate them on a scale of how much Dominic Toretto is in each one.
All right, start with the first one.
And
I'll paint the scene for you. So you have opening on Los Angeles, underground. It's dark. It's night. Yep. You've got race cars coming in hot and fast.
This is great.
I think I purged all this from my brain. Actually,
I already hate this.
I already had purged it, so I don't remember anything. Okay,
let's go back to the Warhammer. Listen, okay, so we're talking about Warhammer.
We're talking about Warhammer.
Odie, tell me, what do you know about Warhammer?
I know everything about Warhammer.
I'm putting my glasses on for this.
I know every single thing there is to know about Warhammer.
Okay, like.
Well, I mean, if I did it, then that would take away from the wonderful report you're about to give everybody. So
that's true.
For the sake of this episode, I will pretend
Shut up.
Like I don't know about Warhammer.
Shut up.
You can't tell me to shut up.
Sit down and shut up.
You can't tell me to do. You can't do that.
Anyway, So I do want to say before we get into this, I get my lore from other lore channels that are devoted to Warhammer and have been and are very successful with it. They do a phenomenal job. The first and foremost that I recommend anybody check out, and I think this will actually be the first podcast I actually put links in. Oh no, wait, I put them in the Natalie Carr one. I highly recommend people check out Adeptus Ridiculous. It's a podcast. They do have a YouTube segment. It's run by Shy, Bricky, and DK Diamantes, and they do such a good job explaining Warhammer. It's actually very similar to the format we're going to have here because you don't know shit about Warhammer.
I know
Odie,
everything.
and I do. Well, you know everything about Warhammer, but I know more. Well, they do like a straight man and the color commentary guy kind of setup, right? And then Shy's in the background doing kind of fact checking, like posting up pictures, things like that, so they can react to them in real time. And Bricky, who's I would say the main host of the podcast, will like feed a quote to DK from the universe and try to make DK guess like what they're talking about. DK usually gets it wrong, and then they kind of get into the topic. But as they've gone on, because it's been about almost 4 years since they started this podcast, DK is learning like more about the universe. They've been painting miniatures, having a good time. So like it keeps getting more in depth, and it started with a broader overview, kind of like what we're doing. I also recommend checking out Leutin, Leutin, YouTuber, does a phenomenal job with Warhammer. Actually did a really great YouTube video on why it's so hard to succeed as a YouTuber doing something in a niche realm and why YouTubers might branch out when they do. He really explained like how hard it is to like keep up with the algorithm. And then I also recommend Lorehammer. Lorehammer, it's just like what it sounds like. It's some dudes talking about the lore of Warhammer. All right, are you ready to get into this, Odie?
No. I'll see you tomorrow.
All right. Okay, so we're outside of LA. There's this truckload of DVDs, and there's these cars coming up. Now,
you see the neon glow of the undercarriage.
Here's what Warhammer says. Good news for us, we're about to enter the golden age of man.
Oh.
Us, right now. Because this is real Earth is part of Warhammer, and we're in it, and we're about to go into the golden age of man. Sometime right after our lifetimes.
Oh, okay.
Is the golden age.
So we're not in it then.
Now, we might think to the contrary, but Warhammer says we're going to go into a golden age of technology. We're going to develop faster than light travel. A lot of amazing things are going to happen for human civilization. How do you feel about that?
Well, I mean, are there going to be, like traffic laws for this light speed travel? Are there going to be space cops? Are we going to have freeways and interstates and traffic jams just like we have here on Earth? Because if not, then I don't want to be a part of it. I want to feel like I'm in Earth traffic, but in space.
Oh, you're going to feel like you're on Earth, baby. Because it doesn't last forever. No, as a matter of fact, in the grim, dark future, the only constant is war.
Oh, follow.
Now, that's not the exact quote, but that's one of the versions that you'll hear. Forget progress and purpose. The only thing is war. Like Warhammer is where the term grim dark comes from. Now, it originally was a tabletop RPG. There are multiple games that are developed around the universe, although they don't flesh out the entire universe. There's no real open world, like you can go to different planets, kind of like Helldivers or No Man's Sky for it yet. There is Dark Tide, and I forget the other one, something Tide, but like Warhammer. There's a lot of Warhammer-related games, books. There's hundreds of books, literally so much literature that I could not. There's no way I could have read up even on half of it to like get to this point.
So you're not dedicated.
I'm going to say that.
That's what we're hearing.
I'm going to say no, not at all. I'm a heretic, as a matter of fact. I would be murdered in the Warhammer universe. Oh. But I'm going to do the best job that I can to kind of summarize the timeline of Warhammer and give you a sense of like the universe. My whole plan is I'm going to outline the human portion of it first, because humans kind of they're the main stage, even though there's different species, and as time goes on they're getting different focuses. Like there are characters in the Warhammer universe that aren't necessarily human that are like some of my favorite characters, and they're actually very well fleshed out. But the human perspective, as you might imagine, as humans playing a tabletop game or consuming Warhammer content, is the main one. Now, I did want to touch on like something has happened recently. So Fallout came out recently, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there are obviously a lot of Fallout fans who are, they've been playing the games for forever. They've been super into, a lot of the different Fallout content that has existed prior to the TV show. The TV show came out, and naturally a large subset of people who are super dedicated to the lore in the games got really picky and gatekeepy.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Okay. Anybody who wants to get into Warhammer, if you're getting in with an open mind and you're into it because you're excited about Henry Cavill doing something cool with the sci-fi series, be ready for more of the same, if not a more intense version of that, because the people who play this game are dedicated, and I think a lot of the people who are really, really into it are going to nitpick the fuck out of anything, because they already do.
Oh, yeah.
I hear the conversations at my local game stores. Like, they already nitpick everything, and that's... Here's what I'll say about it. That's part of the fun when you're playing the game, because like everybody kind of picks a faction or a different Space Marine chapter, right? That's like part of the game. Like you pick a chapter and you're like, my chapter's the best, and so we're gonna like poke fun at each other and have fun and shit, right? There's another thing that happened recently that I wanted to touch on real quick, and I'll come back to it later. But part of the lore is being rewritten as the fan base is expanding, and not necessarily completely rewritten, but just I would say even just expounded upon, which is I think great because this is a fictional universe. But there are more female fans of the game now, and up till this point they really only had like the Sisters of Battle and like some female characters that were in like some of the Eldari, which are space elves. Like there were different female characters, but recently Games Workshop, who owns and operates and runs Warhammer, they added female Custodes, which are like these legendary guardians of the Emperor of Mankind, which I think is awesome.
So it's
right because
it's like the Terminator effect, because when the first Terminator came out, a large due to that initial success was women going to watch, because Sarah Connor was was the lead, was the action hero, which the only thing previously before that was big was Alien with Ripley, which is where James Cameron got his inspiration for Sarah Connor. But I just want to throw out a fun fact I know.
Well, it's kind of like that, but also what's happening, what happened naturally is a bunch of gamer dudes were like, oh, yeah, you can't have girls be custodians, and it's like, dude, it's
fictional.
It's make believe.
Yeah, it's all
the
fake,
whole thing's
dude.
been make believe. Like I just like whenever that happens, I just like want to I hope I'm around some dude who says something like that so I can lean in and I can go, it's been fake the whole time.
They can't be any of this because none of it's real.
I don't know if you knew this, but it's all make believe.
You can't be one either,
and it doesn't matter. I know it feels like it matters, but if it went away tomorrow, you'd still have to eat and breathe and survive as a normal human.
Yeah.
Anyway, so the game's changing, it's evolving. A lot of VTubers have gotten interested in Warhammer content, which I think is cool too. As it's expanding and becoming a more like diversified space, the game itself is probably going to change. Our perspective on it's going to change. I think that's awesome. So let's get into the thick of it. Like I said, Golden Age of Mankind is coming. It's going to be amazing, right?
Right.
Aren't you excited?
Golden Age.
Yeah. We are going to expand, and we are going to reach out into the galaxy inevitably.
Rebel Moon Part 27,
it's gonna happen.
baby.
We'll even invent the Men of Iron, which are their AI. We already...
our favorite.
Congrats, AI is you're gonna notice a lot of things from different sci-fi genres that come into this. AI, there's your first one. Okay, we're gonna have stuff from Alien. We're gonna have Terminator. We're gonna have a lot of different stuff going on. AI. There's your first one. The Men of Iron. They assist humankind in expanding out into the galaxy. What do you think happens with the AI, Odie? What do you think happens? What always happens with AI?
Oh, it becomes their best friend and takes care of them forever and does whatever they say forever and always.
No, Odie,
Aw,
you're fucking
man.
wrong. This is why I'm here. I
Damn.
thought you knew everything about Warhammer. No, it goes rogue, Odie. It goes
What a
rogue,
twist.
and it doesn't want to be a slave to mankind anymore. It says, stop feeding me stupid images to create more Warhammer imagery. You sent me the Warhammer art the other day, and I was like, oh, it's AI.
It was.
God damn
and it
it.
looks so weird.
Which is funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, AI just still throws me off.
It does.
But so AI, there's eventually there's a big war, and it's rumored that some alien races are brought in to help mankind fight against the AI. Eventually, we beat it, right? So AI is like it's banned. Like AI gets banned in the Warhammer universe. The age of Terra, so Earth becomes Terra after a giant nuclear war. So let me back it up. We have Golden Era. Unfortunately, we haven't learned anything about settling our differences. So nuclear war, and then the Age of Terra begins, and we begin a stellar exodus. Like we go out into the stars, we reach out into the galaxy. AI's there. They go on a rampant. They basically go rampant. And then we enter what's called the Age of Strife. Now, setting up into that, there's this guy, and I would say, regardless of what anybody says, he's the central figure of the Warhammer universe. His name is the Emperor of Mankind. There's no name. It's just his name is a title. He is the Emperor of Mankind. Now, he apparently has been along with us for the whole ride. Sometimes in the shadows, sometimes bringing himself into the light as a ruler or a warrior or a general or something, right? He's always been shedding some wisdom and kind of guiding the path of mankind, right? I'm not going to get too much into him. There's so much detail. I could do like a whole hour on him. But long story short, TLDR mode, this guy, he eventually arises. He's like, I'm the Emperor of Mankind. And also, I think religion's for suckers. So I'm going to go around the planet, which is like the planet Earth at this point. This is post-nuclear war. It's in like a really weird like Mad Max type state. The people on Earth are known as techno-barbarians.
Oh. Wait, are we on other planets at this
it's
point?
Mad
Like,
Max.
have we...
No, this is...
Oh.
We are and we aren't.
Okay.
Like, it's... The real focus is Terra or Earth, right? So the Emperor's like, how do I get all these tribes looped together so that we can prosper together? And he goes, oh, I know. I'm going to oppress them and I'm going to get rid of religion, because it turns out religion's the only problem that I see here. So he goes around with these guys that he's made that are called his Thunder Warriors. Now, these are genetically modified humans. They're gigantic. They're absolute psychopaths. He also creates his Custodes, of which we now know we're females, right? So the Custodes and the Emperor, they're super old. They've been around for a long time, right? Custodes can be like, it can be recruited, but they're always genetically modified, which is why I think it's stupid that anybody would complain about female Custodes anyway, because they're essentially, they become like these gigantic gender effectiveless people. Like,
yeah.
they're not effective as far as a gender is concerned. Their only purpose is to guard the Emperor of Mankind. So he's got the Custodes, not too many of them, and they take too long to like make, because there's a lot of genetic modification that goes into it. So he creates the Thunder Warriors. I want to say Thunder Lords because of Destiny.
I was thinking the
Thunder
same
Warriors.
thing.
So they go around, but the problem with the Thunder Warriors is their genetic modification is kind of imperfect, even though he's used part of his genetics for them and like modifying them. It's still imperfect, and like essentially after a certain amount of time, they just basically die of like dementia, like they go insane. They go like rogue themselves, right? Kind of like the AI problem.
Oh.
But he's going around, he's getting rid of all that shit, and he's burning down churches. Now, there's an amazing short film called The Last Church. It was The Last Church is an extended conversation between the Emperor of Mankind and the steward or the priest or pastor or whatever you want to say of the last church on Terra. It's about an hour long. I would recommend, if you're into Warhammer at all, that you watch it. It's really cool. It gets a little edgy because it's basically a guy who's like an atheist debating with a Christian guy for like forever, right? Or, well, a man of the faith. They don't necessarily say what it is, but it's the faith. And then the guy the priest kind of reveals in the conversation, light spoilers, the priest reveals like there was this huge battle and he like faced off against the Thunder Warriors and he thought he was going to die, but then this radiant being presented himself to the priest and saved him and sent him off, and the priest found this church and he was like, okay, I'm going to dedicate my life to this radiant being. This is obviously, this is God. I'm going to worship God and I'm going to do good by God. And so the Emperor of Mankind, who's like disguised himself as a wanderer, he's like talking to him the whole time and debating about religion and its merits and things like that. And they actually they kind of almost reach an agreement. And then the Emperor, with like a very snide look at the camera, wink wink face, he pulls off his hood and he's like, "It was me who saved you from the battle. I'm the glorious being that you've called God and devoted your life to, and we're still going to burn the church down."
And you lose.
And the pastor decides very nobly to go into the church while it's burning down. Now, there's a cool part in the story where the pastor has this clock, like this pocket watch that's only ticked a certain amount of times. And he's like, it was given to me. It's rumored that when this pocket watch hits midnight, that like the end of humankind will begin, right? And the Emperor's like, I'm ushering in the new age of humankind. And at the very end, it clicks to midnight, right? It's like one click away. And so the last church burns, it clicks to midnight. Emperor's like, I'm entering a new age of mankind, but it might be the end. Who knows? We'll see. You've got to pay money and buy figures and play the game to find out. Because that's what the real end is.
Of course.
It's capitalism.
It's capitalism.
Oh, fuck, I am communist. Anyway, so...
Just you.
So the Emperor, I'm not going to get too much into it. The Emperor is rumored to have at one point gone into this space called the Warp. Now, the Warp is a place of... It's the Ethereum. It's the immaterial. It's actually referred to as the immaterium very often. It's a space that like both exists and doesn't exist. It's kind of liminal, but it's made of emotion and manifestation and all of these concepts. And so a lot of our emotions as humans have manifested different gods there. And we call them chaos gods because the warp is essentially chaos, right? Like it's ruled by chaos. There's no actual order there. It's anarchical by nature. And it's rumored that the Emperor goes in there and he makes a deal. And when he comes back, he's like, all right, I'm going to craft 20 sons. And these sons are going all male, by the way. They're going to lead humankind into a great golden age, the likes of which we've never seen. But
sounds good.
But when they are in their nascent stage, they're little like pods, right? They're little baby boys, little Emperor baby boys, crafted from his DNA and the DNA of another being who is named Erda. That's her name. The Chaos Gods conspire against the Emperor and launch them out to different planets in the galaxy. So they get spread across the galaxy. All these baby boys, they get spread across the galaxy. And the Emperor's like, oh, no, my baby boys. I got to go get my baby
Italian.
boys. Like, they're the most, I don't know. I got to go get them. I got to go get my baby boys. And so, big Emps, big E, the big guy, he's like, I'm going to go on a mission, and I'm going to go get all my boys. And he heads out, and he goes and he gets them. And as he reacquires them, of the 20, we know of 18. 2 have been stricken from the history books.
Because they died.
So there's 18. So he goes out into the universe, and he finds his boys. And he gets them together. These boys are called the Primarchs. They're made of his DNA. They have their own gene seed. They all kind of represent a facet of him that he deems worthy of governing humanity. You know, like his wrath and his judgment and his perseverance. Like just different pinnacle pieces of what we would consider to be. Like if you put them all together, you might think like, oh, it's a perfect human. You know, but these are his boys. And then he's got them governing different parts of the galaxy, right? And there's this thing that happens around this time. This is called the Age of Strife. Oh, no, wait. This is before. Okay, so the Age of Strife happens right before this. Right before he gathers all his boys. The Age of Strife, all of a sudden... like because mankind's been using the warp, the immaterium, to travel back and forth at faster than light speeds and spread across the galaxy and develop planets and stuff. What happens is all of a sudden the warp like gets totally effed up. Like communication can't happen, travel can't happen. It's super unsafe to deal with. We don't know why. It's not important. Don't worry about it. We'll come back to it later. It has to do with the sexy space elf.
Oh,
so yep, it does. So that's the Age of Strife. The Age of Strife lasts for about 5,000 years. So there's about 5,000 years of a lack of communication around the galaxy, and his boys have been scattered about the galaxy. So then he begins what's called the Great Crusade. The Great Crusade is him getting his boys back, right? So that's about in the year 30,798, and it goes until the year 31,005.
So we're dead by this point.
There's actual dates for these. So
you and I probably don't make it that long, do we? That's like 34 years from now, 34,000 years from now. We probably won't make it.
Something like that. But anyway, so they go out. He goes out and he does like this big mission. He's gathering all his boys. Then he's got them taking over different parts of like governing different parts of the galaxy because he's trying to work on a big project. His big project is this what's essentially a beacon for the warp so that mankind can like use the warp safely forever and ever. Amen. Eventually, one of his boys named Lorgar starts worshiping him as a god, and he's like, "That's fucking bad." And he's like, "I don't want any gods, so you can't worship me either." And he chastises him, right? And then Lorgar's like kind of pissed. And then there's this other son named Horus who also gets pissed, and he's like, "Hey, Dad's never paying attention to me." And he likes this Lorgar guy more. I'm actually pretty pissed about this. Horus eventually gets tainted by the Chaos Gods. He gets convinced by the Chaos Gods that he should turn against the Emperor. They have agents that are like convincing him, and like they're essentially making him evil. Like they're kind of turning him to the dark side, right? Like Jedi Sith type stuff. So Horus starts this thing that gets known as the Horus Heresy. The Horus Heresy ends up lasting from 00531 to 01431, right? So 31,014. So essentially those millennia or those hundreds of years, right? However long it is. No, it's not that long. But those years that's happening, Horus lashes back against the Emperor. At first, the Emperor doesn't know what's going on, and Horus is kind of conquering the galaxy on his own. This guy, who's known as Magnus the Red, he's like a great psyker, and that's a good time to mention this. The term psyker comes up a lot, and it's someone who has psychic powers, like psychological capabilities.
The Force.
Psychers, well, it's more like just like telekinesis, stuff like that, like seeing the future. They essentially have a third eye that can use the warp to like generate power. They can make flame or do crazy things. But they also are beacons for the beings that exist in the warp who want to come out and taint things. So some psychers, like, if they get too powerful and they're not trained well enough, they'll just get like possessed by demons or just explode and become gateways to hell.
Damn, that sounds like
just
Doom.
what happens. Yeah, so Horus gets tainted, and he goes against his dad, and then this big guy, Magnus the Red, he's like, "I gotta go warn my dad." And Big Emps has been building this like huge webway project, this huge like warp project so that he can like help all of mankind forever and ever. Amen. And then Magnus, he essentially teleports directly using like this crazy psychic energy and breaks all these wards that the Emperor had set up, and then just all out war breaks out. And the Emperor, like, he chastises him and like ruins his regiment, so then he turns to chaos, and then all the so like you can kind of see the Emperor's creating his own undoing, right?
Yeah.
Eventually there's a giant battle that happens. It's called the Siege of Terra, right? So the Siege of Terra, what ends up happening there is Horus and the Emperor face off. And they face off on Horus's gigantic dreadnought of a ship just outside of Terra. Horus actually, he pulls a Bane. He breaks the Emperor's back. He like gives him some serious wounds. He's about to fuck him up forever and ever. And then Sanguinius, who's from the Blood Angels, kind of gets in the way, sacrifices. He created like a chink in Horus's armor. He like sacrificed himself in so many different ways. He dies, so that everybody who loves the Blood Angels, they're like, he's the most loyal ever. Fucking, he's the man. Anyway, the Emperor has like one last chance. He sends a huge psychic blast through Horus that destroys his entire soul. So the Emperor destroys Horus's soul and then is essentially rendered incapable, and he gets linked up to what is now known as the Golden Throne. And the Golden Throne powers the giant lighthouse beacon that mankind needs to navigate through the warp safely. It helps with communications, different things like that, but it comes at a cost. And that cost is that we have to sacrifice 1,000 psychers a day to the Emperor. So 1,000 people a day have to be sacrificed to him ad infinitum or until he gets better. And that's where kind of Warhammer 40K act properly begins.
I have a question.
Yeah, this was all precursor to 40K,
which is great because that's the one I think that everyone knows, and that's what the show's going to be. But my question is, so I just Googled a picture of the Emperor of Mankind.
Yeah.
He
looks like Nathan Explosion from Death Clock.
Okay, so I was wondering, is he supposed to look like a young, handsome-ish guy?
Yeah.
And then he hooked up to the throne. He kind of looks like a skeleton.
He is a skeleton hooked up to a throne. Yes, he is barely alive. And he is gigantic. Like his stature, he is like 8 times the size of a human being.
Is he human?
And we're just no.
Well,
yes and no.
Okay, so
he's humanoid.
Here's my real question.
But not necessarily human.
Okay. My real question is, how do all these people live for thousands and thousands and thousands of years?
Okay. I got to get into this. All right. Just in case, because we don't know what the show is going to cover, potential spoilers for the show. The Emperor is what's known as a perpetual. A perpetual is a being that is beyond human evolution. They can appear as humanoid, but we don't know exactly what they are. A perpetual is someone who's been around for a very, very long time. Urda, the rumored mother of the Primarchs of mankind, the Imperium. She was also a perpetual. There's multiple mentions of it, but we don't have any concrete evidence.
Okay.
But that pretty much, that's all I got on that. That's all you really need on that.
Okay.
Like he's human, but he's not human. He's all about the human race, but not all about the human race. And really the big thing that happened before his boys got scattered, about the universe. The big thing that happened before that was he had a huge disagreement with Urda, because Urda saw that he was like, all right, well, I'm sick of this mankind thing. I'm just going to guide them the way that I think is the best for them, which isn't really, that's not so much kind shepherding anymore. It's just domineering.
I mean, he's a dictator.
He essentially is, he's like, hey, no gods, but by the way, I'm going to act like I'm God.
But don't worship me.
I'm going to control all of you. But don't worship me. Yeah. So there's like a lot that goes back and forth.
That's
there.
a good villain. I like that.
Right.
It's complex.
Well, and the thing is, like, so now the Imperium, with all of its different planets, they have tithes. So the planets have to send like 1,000 people to the Emperor to die. Like these psychers just get sacrificed to him, so he has enough psychic energy to keep the Imperium going, right? And every once in a while, a planet will like call for aid, but they won't get answered right away. And like by the time aid comes, they might have already turned to chaos. They might have already turned to like, the bad forces in the universe. So let me cover chaos real quick, because I think this is the fun part, and this is the part that
one more question.
Yeah.
Okay, so everything you just covered is basically the prequel, if you will, to Warhammer.
This all happens before the year 40,000.
Oh, is that what the 40K stands for?
Yes, it's the year 40,000. We are in the in the grim dark future of the 40,000th century.
41,000th.
There is nothing but war.
So
that's pretty much the tagline.
38,000 years from now, when you and I are still doing this podcast, we'll have to deal with this.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Well, we're gonna have to pick sides, and I think you know what.
Can we
side
be on the moon?
Picking.
Is that possible? Is the moon?
Yeah, absolutely. We could be on Mars. We'll get to Mars. Okay. I think if we're doing a podcast, we want to be on Mars, and we'll get to that.
I agree with that.
All right.
Mars feels like a good planet to podcast on.
Yeah, it'll be great. We'll love Mars.
Yeah,
I'll tell you exactly why.
I hope you're not tricking
okay,
me.
so anyway, so there's chaos gods. Okay? There's 4 of them. These gods are,
4 horsemen.
and I'm just going to go through them real quick, brief overview. One of them is Khorne. Khorne, spelled Khorne.
I thought it was a
kind of like that.
Oh, wait, who? What?
Yeah,
those people.
So Khorne,
I'm sorry.
is known as the whatever.
It's
Khorne.
just funny.
He's known. Yeah, it's Jonathan Davis basically. He comes out.
That's good.
He is known as the Blood God.
Okay.
He is the Lord of Battle, and he oversees hate, anger, rage, wrath, martial honor. Like remember when I said that the immaterium is a place where like manifestation can occur and emotions and thoughts can become reality, things like that.
Yeah.
So these gods were essentially formed out of like the strong emotions, the strong feelings, the strong impetuses that that living beings in our material galaxy have. So Khorne is hate, anger, rage, wrath. I love that he's also martial honor, because that is the one thing that, like, when I first started learning about Warhammer, I'm like, oh, the Chaos Gods will never go away, because he's there forever, period. Like, you can't, like, the whole point of Warhammer is to wage war and win. But if you're waging war and winning, that's martial honor. So, like, Khorne essentially is poised to win in the end. Like, him as the god. Then there's Tzeentch. Tzeentch is spelled Tzeentch. Tzeentch.
Okay.
Tzeentch is the Lord of Change, or the Architect of Fate.
He should change his name, am I right?
Yeah.
Got him.
And is comprised of lies, trickery, and deception. Kind of oversees those. So, like, if you're being deceptive, you're kind of giving power to Tzeentch. In doing anything, you kind of give power to the Chaos Gods, right? Which is funny.
Now, these are like mythical
because, like,
beings, right? These are like actual.
Oh, no. They actually will come out into the universe and fuck shit up.
Yeah, but they're not from a planet. They're like celestial.
No, they're in the warp.
Like.
Yeah. Not even celestial. They are paradimensional.
That's a word I didn't know existed, but yeah, that one.
There we go. So, and then there's Nurgle. Everybody likes to call him Papa Nurgle.
Sounds like an old lady.
Big Papa Nurgs. Nurgle is the Lord of Decay, or the Plague Father. He's this giant. I should have been describing these.
I'm
Khorne
looking up pictures
looks
right
like
now.
a space marine. Let me go back. Yeah, Khorne looks like a space marine. He looks like a space marine. Like he's got a bunch of armor on. He's got a big battle axe. Like he's ready to fuck shit up. A lot of times, if someone's like a fan of Khorne, you'll hear them say "blood for the blood gods, skulls for the skull throne," which is just a sick battle cry. He's definitely like if you're a metalhead, I feel like you would, in the Warhammer universe, you'd be like, "Oh yeah, that guy. I like Khorne. he's dope. He's all about blood and skulls."
Oh, here we go. Okay.
Tzeentch is actually a giant, weird, like anthropomorphic bird type thing, like Big Papa Burb, just like an ungovernable pigeon of a giant paradimensional being. Nurgle is a giant, fat ogre-looking thing with a slit in his stomach that is also a mouth.
Yeah, I got pictures of him now. He looks like
Oh, he's so gross. And he's got a giant plague bell that he rings. It's amazing. I love it.
These guys remind me of raid bosses from Destiny.
They kind of, yeah. I mean, well, yeah. Like, Destiny definitely grabbed some inspiration, I think, from, like, Warhammer and threw it into the game, which in a good way. Like, I think like they like tapped into this and they're like, yeah, we got something along those lines that we were thinking of. Let's tap into that a little more. Slaanesh, also known as She Who Thirsts or the Dark Prince, is the non-binary chaos god.
That's my favorite.
Slaanesh is the god of pleasure, pain, excess, and perfection. And oversees things like lust, pride, self-indulgence, really like the stuff that's kind of like the merit or the sin of the artist. That brings me to the Eldari. The Eldari are sexy space elves. They're horny sexy space elves.
Horny sexy? Oh, yeah.
They've been around longer than mankind. When they were first created, they were immortal.
Oh.
They were created by these beings called the Old Ones. Don't worry about it. We'll touch on them in a bit. The way that I like to describe them, they're like the anti-Spock. Like, you know how Spock was like, I have no emotions. I only know how to compute things for the Star Trek universe. They're like, nah, we're all emotion, bro. We're all about, like, we're going to paint some shit over here. It's gonna be
We're
great.
gonna paint some shit.
Yeah. They were made by the old ones during what was called the War in Heaven. And then they started out as a super peaceful race, and they actually oversaw probably the greatest period of peace that any race in all of Warhammer has overseen. They existed in perfect peace for a long time. But like any artist trapped up for a long time, they eventually became sadomasochists. So they started out pursuing things like art, poetry, love, things, but like as time went on, they're like, well, that's not enough. It's kind of, we're kind of doing the dopamine hit's not the same. It's not hitting the same. We need something different. And then somebody was like, what if we cut ourselves? And they were like, what if we cut each other?
Oh.
And they were like, oh.
Oh.
What if we torture each other?
Oh.
Hey, what if we do that forever?
Oh.
Hey, what if we combine the pleasure with the cutting and the torture and we do that forever?
Oh.
Hey, wait. What if we take certain people and we just keep cutting and torturing them? And what if we make furniture out of their skin?
Oh, what?
And what if and they just keep going. It just keeps going from there. And they're like, and what if we keep their eyes open while it's happening so they can see us making furniture out of their skin?
Ooh.
And then eventually what happens is they rip open a thing in the universe called the Eye of Terror, which is basically a giant gateway to the warp. And Slaanesh comes out and goes, "You rang?" I'm here. Did you say sex and murder? Because I'm here for it. Not only that, we're going to make it an art. Did you say art? We're going to turn it into art form. Did you say turn him into a chair? No, I'm going to turn all of you into a giant flesh palace. That's what you're all going to be now. That's what Slaanesh does.
And that's the they them one, right?
That's the they them one. Slaanesh comes out and goes, "You like pleasure?
Can I tell you a joke?
Pleasure." It's kind of like Hellraiser, right? Like, like pleasure comes along with pain. What do you pick?
Interesting. I have a so this character fits a perfect joke that I heard the other day. Are you ready?
Hit me.
How does a non-binary person murder someone?
I don't know.
They/them.
But oh, that's actually pretty good. All right. So Slaanesh comes out and is like, "You rang," and then fucks up all the Eldari shit. Now, remember I said the Age of Strife where the warp gets all fucked up? Yeah, this was it. It was a bunch of elves, and they were fucking and murdering each other. What
are the elves?
The Eldari. Aeldari. The Eldari, right? So the Eldari, they're all fucking and murdering, right? What?
I'm looking at these pictures as you explained. Sorry.
Oh, yeah.
I want to have visuals.
And Slaanesh breaks the shit up. Now, some of them who are known as the Asuriani, they escape on what are called craft worlds, and those are exactly what they sound like. They went all Martha Stewart, but they did it for a whole planet. They were like, we're gonna have these giant spaceships called craft worlds, and we're just gonna go around the galaxy. And they still might enslave you. They're not like all great or anything. Like, they're more peaceful than the Drukari, who are the Dark Elves. The Drukari were like, oh yeah, the Slaanesh lady guy. Yeah, we like them. Yeah, we're all about that. Let's keep doing this stuff. You said murder, we'll do more of it. Like, that's so the Drukari are like they really lean into they're like if you get captured by Drukari, the advice is kill yourself.
Oh,
like, just get it over with and hope they don't revive you. Like,
okay.
Yeah, because you do not want to be tortured like that. They were created around the same time as another race of beings called the Krorks. Now Krorks are rumored to be, not confirmed, but the descendants of orcs.
Oh?
Because orcs exist in this universe. But orcs are not the same way that we think of orcs. Orcs are essentially a fungus. They have spores. And if you don't just destroy the entire planet that the orcs are on, they will likely come back. That's just how it works. So orcs are believed to become to have come from Krorks. Krorks were made by the old ones as well during the War in Heaven. Don't worry, we'll touch on it. And they worship two gods. The orcs worship two gods. Their names are Gork and Mork.
Oh, Mork and Mindy.
Gork is rumored to be brutal but cunning. And Mork is rumored to be cunning but brutal.
Interesting.
Gork is more about violence, and Mork is more about sneaky violence.
Did ChatGPT write this?
No. This has been around for a long time, but the orcs they're some of my favorite. The orcs actually have a really funny magic power, like a superpower, and it's the power of belief. And they are so stupid, but things that they believe will actually happen. So, like, they believe that if they paint a vehicle red, it will go faster, and it does.
Oh, wait, what?
They believe that if they paint themselves blue, they're lucky, and they are. They believe that if they paint something yellow, it will explode better, and it does. Like,
what?
Black is for like toughness. Like black makes their armor harder, and then if they paint something camouflage, it becomes near invisible. Like even if it's like against something that's not camouflage, just because they believe it. There's actually a really funny story about these guardsmen from the Imperium of Man who get pinned down by orcs and they run out of ammo. And so one of them gets this idea and he stands up and goes, bang, bang. And a couple orcs fall over dead because they believe that they got shot. So then all the guardsmen stand up and just go, bang, 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 bang. They just do this for like hours until they've killed thousands and thousands of orcs.
Do the orcs like actually think that they're dead and just like stop living?
Yes.
Oh, wait,
so they're
just like dumb.
It's the yeah.
So wait, okay.
They're so stupid that they're smart though, because there's another really funny story that there's these orcs that are outside of their spaceship fixing it, just in space, just by themselves, no spacesuits, nothing. They're just out fixing their ship because the ship needed to be fixing. And then these other orcs come along and they come out of their ship in spacesuits and they come up to the orcs that aren't in spacesuits and they're like, "Hey, how are you surviving out here without your spacesuits on?" And the other orcs, realizing that they don't have spacesuits on, die immediately.
Oh my god! So wait, wait, hold on.
So had they not been told, they would have fixed the ship just fine.
Wait, so does that mean that when they paint these items, like, it's not just that they perceive.
If they paint a car red, it goes faster.
So it's not just that they perceive it to go faster; it legitimately goes faster.
It happens.
That is bizarre as fuck, and I love it.
Yes.
That's so weird.
Yeah, it's great. People, yeah. The orcs war chant, one of the most common war chants for them is, "Here we go, here we go, here we go." That's like, I absolutely love the orcs. Here's how the orcs have spread themselves about the galaxy. They have a thing that's called a Wa. A Wa, spelled W-A-A-G-H, is a war. We would call it a war. They call it a Wa. Here's how a Wa starts. The orcs could be doing anything. They could be farming. They could be running a textile mill. They could be eating lunch. And one of the orcs will kind of have like the notion of a Wa. And then another orc nearby might pick it up. And then it's like the 100th monkey theorem. Have you ever heard that? You know, like the 100th monkey just kind of does the thing that all the other monkeys on the other island were doing, even though it's not connected to them.
Yeah.
It's like that. It's almost like all of them kind of like it's almost like one of them like thinks about it, and then another one thinks about it, and then one of them like sniffs the air and is like, "Wah?" And like then another one's like, "Wah?" And then they're like, "Wah, wah, wah." Like, and they just get hyped up and they're like, "Well, I guess we're going to war." And like, that's it. And they just go. And whatever they happen upon first, they just wage war on it because that's what they do.
So basically, they're like American politicians. Got them.
Yeah, pretty much. They also have these amazing things called. So they do have goblin servants, and goblins are known to be even more stupid. So
There's
these
always
little like
goblins.
space goblins.
There's always goblins as servants.
And then they have these amazing little things called squigs.
Oh.
And squigs can come in all different sizes and perform all different functions. The orcs will use squigs to be suicide bombers. They'll use squigs for food. Oh. They'll use squigs to burrow tunnels. They'll use like they will use them for anything, and there's all different types. It's amazing.
They're yeah, they
interesting, right? They look like little piggies.
Yeah, they kind of look like
they're the cutest things in the world.
With a weird chicken with also oh, okay.
They're squigs.
All hail the mighty squid.
All hail the mighty squig. So those are the orcs, created around the same time as the Eldari. Now, these were created by the old ones. Who was warring against the old ones, you ask?
Who was warring against the old ones, I ask?
The Necrons!
Oh, I've heard
now,
that
the
name.
Necrons Remember Terminator? Yeah, the
Yeah.
Necrons they're Terminator. They're the Terminator skeleton robot.
Oh.
They wanted to have them in Warhammer, so they're called the Necrons. The Necrons, once called the Necron tier, have existed before almost any other species. So, like I said, the Eldari have been around for a long time. Yeah, Necrons even longer. Okay, so the Necrons, they were basically enslaved by the old ones. They did not like the old ones. They were the Necron tier at that point. They're like, we really fucking hate these guys. So they stumble upon these guys called the Catan. The Catan spelled C''Tan. The Catan. They're essentially these old star gods. And the Catan are like, hey, we'll give you power to fight against the old ones. And the Necrons are like, all right, we're down with that. And they're like, yeah. All right, cool. Just go through this thing. It's called biotransference. So they're like, bio what? And they're like, don't worry about it. And then, so the Necrons go through this thing called biotransference to become immortal and fight against the old ones. And what it does is it strips away their soul and their normal body and replaces it with like this necrodermis, which is their armor-plated skin. So they're like skeleton robots forever and essentially immortal. And then they wage this giant war in heaven. The Eldari are created. The Kroorks are created. They fight against the old ones. They're trying to capture the Catan. They end up capturing the Catan because they're like, fuck you guys. You tricked us into becoming immortal skeleton robots. So we hate you now and we're going to capture you. So they capture these star gods and like put them in shards. And like there's all this crazy shit going on. And there's this guy named the Silent King. And like they've lost a lot of Necron power, and they don't think that they're going to be able to like really sustain themselves if they continue this way against like the Eldari and the Kroorks. Like they're like, okay, we don't think that we're going to totally win this thing, so let's go to sleep for 60 million years. And they do.
Oh, the Warhammer, the Necrons?
The Necrons.
Okay,
they go to sleep for 60 million years on what are called tomb worlds.
I have a question about Necrons. If they're robots, who created them?
They were the Necron tier before, and then they went through biotransference. And
then they became robots.
So when they were going through biotransference, imagine like walking up a staircase, going through a thing as your normal self, and coming out on the other side a skeleton, an immortal skeleton robot.
So I was trying to look up a picture of them, what they looked like before they were robots.
You can't really see it. They were humanoid. Okay. We don't know exactly what they look like, but you could assume something similar to humans.
Interesting.
Yes. So they were around for a long time, and they were the main participants in the war in heaven. And what's actually funny about them is they are known to, in different parts of the galaxy, reenact the war in heaven in real time. So, like, they will put on a play production of the war in heaven, which lasted thousands of years, and just watch it.
So it's like the Civil War reenactment.
For entertainment.
But if it went from 4 years.
Longer. for hundreds.
No, I meant like the Civil War went for like 4 years. So it'd be like reenacting the whole Civil War.
From start to finish.
It's crazy.
Exactly. Yeah, I love the Necrons. They're amazing. They're hilarious.
They seem kind of cute.
They have these things called scarabs. They're little beetles because they kind of have like an Egyptian theme to their race.
Ooh.
So they have these little like scarab beetles that will help like to consume different things and then construct different like it's really cool. Like they're really complex. Like I said, and here's the thing, Adeptus Ridiculous does whole episodes that are like 2 hours long on each of these races. I'm really giving you the lightest overview possible, so I really recommend anybody who's interested in this listen to Adeptus Ridiculous, look up Leutin on YouTube, just get into it, read one of the books. I've gone through I think 5 of the books now, some of my favorites. And they really like the writing is like top tier quality. One of the Games Workshop's writers, the guy who actually wrote The Last Church, he's the guy who oversees all of the development for Arcane now, League of Legends. Yeah, like that's how good the writing is. Like it's high caliber writing. It's phenomenal. The whole Horus Heresy is like something like 20 books or now at this point on the Horus Heresy. It's amazing. I highly and like some of the burns that people have and some of the things that people do, just phenomenal in these books. So the Necrons, they go to sleep for 60 million years.
Jesus.
They are in Warhammer 40K. They are just starting to wake up. They have these tomb worlds, right? And the tomb worlds are whole worlds that were seeded with Necrons. And as they wake up, they're like, all right, well, time to get back to conquering the galaxy.
Oh,
like
just picking up where they left off.
So you got the orcs who are just, so you got the orcs who are going around just going, what? do we want to? Like, and then you have the Necrons, and they basically just wake up and they're like, time to conquer the galaxy. And you got the Eldari who are like, there's two different types. Is the Asuriani who are like, we've got the craft world, but we'd like to have every world possibly. And then you got the Drukari who are like, we'd like to murder, fuck everything in the universe, please. We'd like to do that. Slanesh is here. They said that we could.
They gave us permission.
You know, like
they said we could slash them.
Yeah, so you got that going on. You've got the Imperium of Man split into two factions: the good side, quote unquote good side, and the chaos side, right? The good side worshiping the God Emperor of mankind, who sits on his throne as an immobile, like, undead reminder of psyker power, like just fucking
just
nuts.
Kill him.
It's nuts. I love it. And then, so to touch it, there's one last race that we really need to cover that's like a main race. And this is, you talked about alien. This is the alien race. This is the xenomorph race. They are called the Tyranids. Now, the Tyranids just want to eat everything. They want to consume everything in material existence. Now, normally, psychers would trigger things in the warp, like they'd get possessed by demons, they become gateways to hell. The Tyranids can communicate psychically and have a ton of psychic power, but they do not trigger the warp. They are actually, when they enter a part of the galaxy, something's created that's known as the shadow in the warp, which will actually like block it'll block communications, it'll block travel, it'll make it harder. So like if you go to travel, you might end up like in the same exact spot that you were, you know, like if you go to warp travel, you might get like turned around. And it's because they are so psychically powerful. They'll mess up psychers on a planet. Like psychers will start losing their minds on planets when the Tyranids are around.
Oh, wow.
Now the Tyranids, they can travel at beyond light speed. What they do is they create a giant gravity well that reaches through the warp. Now that there's no actual science to this. Please don't ask me questions about it.
No, I was going to say there's no way.
It's a gravity well, and it goes through the warp. But when they come out on the other side, they're so weakened by traveling this way that they can only travel at normal speeds for a while, which like is not that fast, even though they have like these giant hive ships. And they're pretty much everything that they have is flesh. It's adapted flesh. If they see a weapon, like if they consume a weapon and someone's memory who like knows how to use that weapon, you'll see like Tyranids evolving that have like that weapon kind of grafted onto their body, almost always kind of looking phallic in nature, which is really funny. So they have like all these weapons that kind of look like dick and balls. Like, so they get pretty comical when they have weaponry, but they are fierce. And they will oftentimes, they'll shoot like parasites onto people. They'll shoot these things that are called bores that will literally bore through armor and into people and like just destroy them from the inside out. They vomit acid on things, and their whole purpose is to turn an entire planet, and they've done this with multiple planets. They will turn an entire planet into essentially consumable material for their queen, and then the queen comes and drinks it all up, and then nothing's left. And that's it. They just leave a shell behind. They're like, well, we consumed all the biomass.
It's Galactus.
Rock on. Huh?
It's Galactus.
Yeah, it's like Galactus.
A little.
But it's like xenomorphs meet Galactus, right? They are, a lot of people, it's their favorite army because they're just like, if they don't have any commanders, they're just animalistic and wild and will just like eat and destroy things anyway. But when they have their commanders there, they're more organized. They communicate much like a beehive or an ant colony, right? Like psychically, like they kind of send, like they have directives, but the directive is always like, prepare this for the queen, destroy this planet,
kill this.
Like, and they do it in an efficient manner because they do have these things called gene stealers. Now, gene stealers, they look just like you, or they're sleeper agents, right?
They're you.
They're a sleeper agent. Yeah, they're me. I'm a gene stealer.
You're gonna find a buckle under your bed.
Well, they're sleeper agents that will work their way into high society and government and defensive positions for different planets. And then when the Tyranid colony shows up, all of a sudden the gene stealers will be like, I was part Tyranid the whole time. I'm here to help them, motherfucker. And they'll like, the gene stealers will like be pushing people into these giant vats of acid to be dissolved with all the other biomass. Like it essentially turns into like a giant yellow glowing biomass acid bubble that like the queen can come and slurp up. That's what they want to do with the whole planet. That's it. That's all they ever want to do. And the rumor about them is they pretty much will consume the entire galaxy. Like there's actually a much bigger Tyranid ship that's coming from the bottom of the galaxy and working its way up toward the center
of the galaxy.
Yeah, like if you were to orient the galaxy, it's coming from a direction that none of the other Tyranid ships are coming from, and when it gets here, it's just gonna fuck everybody up. That's pretty much the theory behind the Tyranids. Each of the races kind of has like a theory, like, and if it weren't for blank, they'd have taken over the galaxy.
That's kind of every, like, that's every epic on this scale, right? Like, I mean, if you go Old Republic, Star Wars, even further back, there's things like that. Star Trek has that. Battlestar Galactica has that. I mean, I like that. I mean, it's interesting because you would think, my first reaction when you said that was, well, why don't all the other races just fight them if they're the ultimate bad guy? But they all are the ultimate bad guy to each other.
Every race does fight Tyranids.
Oh, cool.
And very often they are known to team up against Tyranids together.
Oh. Little crossover episode.
Yes. So now I want to share like some of my favorite things in the Warhammer universe with you.
Okay.
Real quick. If you weren't sold on getting more into it already,
I added those two. You sent me a 10-minute, like, animated Warhammer.
Oh, Astartes. Yeah,
yes,
watch
that's
that
in my watch
sure.
later. And what was
Everybody should watch that.
What was the name
amazing.
of that hour-long one? Because I'm hooked. I'm hooked.
The Last Church.
The Last Church Warhammer.
Which is really just like a science versus religion debate that goes for an hour. And there's no clear winner. And it might be the end of mankind. It might be the beginning of a new era.
Now, this is is this animated?
Yes.
Okay, just want to make sure I got the right one here.
Yeah. So I want to share a few things that are my favorite things in the universe. One of them is a member of the Adeptus Mechanicus. Now, remember I said if we were hosting a podcast, we would want to be on Mars?
Yes.
So Mars gets closed off from Earth during the Age of Strife because that type of interstellar travel has been like effed up. And Mars starts developing a culture that is much more mechanical. They have adapted mechanically, the Adeptus Mechanicus. And when the Emperor shows up, because they're convinced that like the God Emperor of Man is going to unify everything, and that they might even be able to do it through machines. When the Emperor shows up, they're like, yes, the Omnissiah, they call him. Yes, like the overall multiple Messiah of everything, right? The Omnissiah, the Messiah of all. So they do worship the Emperor as well, but they will graft their body, or well, rather they'll interchange body parts with machine to the point where they're almost not even human anymore. And one of my favorite members of the Adeptus Mechanicus is Belisarius Cawl. Belisarius Cawl is 10,000 years old. He is an Archmage Dominus of the Adeptus Mechanicus, and he's one of the ruling lords of the priesthood of Mars. Now, he has cloned an entire Primarch region, and he also was credited with the resurrection of the Primarch Rabute Guilliman, who's like the big commander of the Imperium. He's like responsible for replenishing entire regiments, and he even has a Primarch clone that, or rather a Primaris with him, which is. It's like a clone of the Primarch, but it's not as powerful. He has a Primaris that's with him all the time and as like his servant, which is like dope. Nobody else has that in the universe. He's super smart and he's super cynical, and he's the only living being apart from the Primarchs known to have looked at the Emperor dead on, because other people like when they have to like avert their eyes because he's like glowing and radiant and stuff. So all these stories of the Emperor, people are like, I couldn't even look at him. Belisarius actually in his book, in the book that's about him, The Great Work, he has a really funny conversation with the Emperor. It's a very human conversation for a godlike being and essentially an android to be having. But it's really good, and he looks at him dead on, and the Emperor is like impressed that he looked at him dead on, and even commends him. And he's he has so many good like quick quips on people. I just absolutely love him. Another thing that I love that I think everybody should love, I don't know anybody who doesn't love this, it's the Adepta Sororitas. These are the women who are known as the Sisters of Battle. Now, they are part of the Adeptus. They're not the Adeptus Astartes. They're their own chapter, but they are chicks. They are badass, and they just love the Emperor. They love the Emperor. They think he's a god, and they're like imagine if nuns became badass fighter military chicks.
So warrior nun.
Right? Like, yeah, like they're all like just like super hot badass military fighter chicks that think the Emperor is God, and they're like preserving their chastity for him. So they just take pride in fighting and like downing the enemy, and like they're like, praise the Emperor, can't wait for that dude, gonna get some of that D later. Like that's pretty much their entire mentality, is like, we love the Emperor, our life is for him. A quote from them in here is, the Emperor is our father and our guardian, but we must also guard the Emperor. That's like their whole theory just wrapped up into one sentence. They're here to protect the Emperor who's on his throne, so they're going to do whatever they got to do out in the galaxy.
And they still think he's going to have sex with them even though he's just a skeleton?
There's a lot of weird sex stuff tied up with the Adeptus Sororitas that I'm not going to
We
get
don't have
into.
to.
Yeah, okay. Then you have, and I love these guys, these are the Harlequins. Now, the Harlequins are a subset of the Eldari, as you might imagine, being named after Harley Quinn. They're also known by the Eldari as the Really 10, which sounds silly, and it's because they are. And they say that all theaters are theaters of war. War must needs be theatrical. So taking that like dark elf, Drukari, torture, love, like murder, sex stuff to the next degree, they just love murder. Like if they're in battle, they're just looking to kill things. Like, they do not care. They want to kill things, and they want to have fun doing it. And they're like a circus act. Like, they're known for acrobatics. They're very, like, agile. They'll do, like, cartwheels and fling grenades at people. Like, they're just having a great time. Like, and their paint kind of matches that. They have, like, these weird checker patterns on them. They're known to be really hard miniatures to paint. But they're, like, it's like if you took, like, the Joker and put him in this universe. He would just be like, oh, like, I'm going to throw some grenades at you, Batman. Like, pretty much that all the time. So I love them. I think anybody who looks them up that's, like, into DC Comics or anything like that would be a fan. And then, last but not least, my favorite thing in the entire Warhammer universe, and I listened to the book about him and Orokin, the Divine, is Trazyn the Infinite. Trazyn the Infinite is a Necron who wishes he didn't have to conquer the galaxy because he is basically a Pokemon trainer, but for everything. He's got to catch them all. He has a giant like pan-dimensional collection that has like living humans in a stasis field in it. But like, you know how like we build dioramas and stuff?
Yeah.
Here's what's funny about him. He's like a meta commentary upon Warhammer itself. He collects things and builds dioramas, like battle dioramas. Like remember I sent you the picture. Bryce sent me the Tau warrior fighting the Tyrannid. Oh, I didn't even fucking talk about the Tau. God damn it.
Part 2.
I'll talk about the Tau after this. No, it's short. But yeah, so he essentially would build that, but in reality, like he would take like a Tau warrior that was being attacked by a Tyrannid and like freeze it in a stasis field and put it in his collection. He has so many crazy things in his collection, and like in the book where he and Orokin the Divine, who is another Necron, you would think that this book about like these immortal metal skeleton beings that want to conquer the galaxy would be like a dark, brooding book, but it's actually a comedy. They it just turns into grumpy old men, like, and it's just them hating each other for like thousands of years, which is amazing. I absolutely love it. I can't get enough of it. But he would like in the big finale of that book, he's like throwing out these little like paracausal balls that are releasing things that he was going to put in his collection, and one of them is a warband of orcs that were on a Wa who come out and immediately start fighting everything around them. Like, it's just it's so perfect. And he there's this planet that famously fell in the Imperium called Cadia. It actually like you'll hear fans of Warhammer go, Cadia stands, and it's because Cadia literally withstood the forces of chaos and fought them back so much that the planet cracked in half before anybody even like gave ground. Like chaos literally cracked the planet in half and they were still fighting.
Damn.
Like, yeah. And so Trazyn shows up, and there's this very famous Cadian commander, and he is in Trazyn's collection. He thought like he was dying like this really glorious death on the battlefield, and Trazyn shows up and he goes, there is much more glory than death that awaits you, friend. He just puts him in his collection.
Ooh.
In a stasis field.
What glory he has found.
That's the glory. He's there forever. But I fucking love Trazyn. I'm gonna read this little bit from Trazyn. This is an actual quote from him. He wrote a letter to somebody who sent him, who sent some Catachan warriors, who are these like giant Rambo-esque warriors, to like essentially wreck his collection and maybe get something out of it. And he wrote this letter back to her. He says, "Dear lady, let me express my fulsome appreciation for your most generous gift. It is so very rare to discover another of my own kind that appreciates my work. Therefore, to find understanding amongst a member of another race is nothing short of a revelation. I realize that you briefly trod my galleries, but the fact that you spotted in so short a time that my Acabrius war collection was lacking 3 regiments of Catachan warriors reveals that you truly have a collector's eye for detail. And to send 5 regiments, such generosity will allow me to weed out and replace a few of the more substandard pieces in my collection. If I might level a minor criticism, the instructions issued to your gift were manifestly not as clear as you thought, as most of them had to be forcibly restrained. Sadly, it seems that the lower orders will always behave like an army of invasion, whether that be their pursuit or not. However, this is a minor complaint and seems almost churlish under the circumstances, so please allow me to repay your gift with one of my own. Accompanying this message is a hyperstone maze, one of a series of tesseract labyrinths, constructed at the height of the Charnavok dynasty. It is a trinket, really, only of interest to scholars as you and I, but I trust that you will find it amusing, assuming you have the wit to escape its clutches, of course." And just so you know, that labyrinth is like, it's a tiny thing, but it, like when you hold it, it will suck you into it until you can find your way out.
Oh.
So he's like, thanks for sending those warriors. Here's a labyrinth.
Damn.
Like, yeah.
He sounds like a British guy.
Amazing.
I figured he sounds like an old British guy with a monocle, just being like, oh.
He's very much like a mustachioed villain.
Yeah, that's what you picture.
You know, just like, he just wants to chill with his collection forever. That's all he wants. He came out and the Necrons are like, all right, we got plans to conquer the galaxy. And he was like, but I have a museum. Like, that's like, he's so good. Absolute favorite character in the entire universe. Like, so phenomenal. And then Orican the Divine, who's like his polar opposite, is like, no, we have to stay on the mission, Trazyn. We have to conquer the galaxy. And Trazyn's like, why though? Look at it. It's so nice. We could take bits of it and make like little dioramas for ourselves. Like, it's so fucking perfect. All right, so Tau. I'm gonna touch on the Tau, and then we'll call this the end of part 1.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna leave it up to you. If you want me to do a part 2, I'll prep a part 2, and you can like pick a topic. I didn't really cover too much of like the Marine, like the Space Marine regiments either. So I guess I'll mention that real quick. But okay, so the Tau. The Tau are basically, if you took like you know the Moonies from Japan, like the Japanese peace cult.
Yeah.
That like worked their way up into like nobility and shit.
Mm-hmm.
they're like that crossed with the Power Rangers. Like
Oh.
they look like the Power Rangers, like their armor looks like the Power Rangers. They're an alien species. They're humanoid Xenos. The humans call all alien species Xenos rather than aliens. Maybe copyright, but they call them Xenos. So the Tau are a Xenos species that are dedicated to peace, but they're so dedicated to peace that if you're not dedicated to peace, they'll fucking kill you. Like
That's the way to go.
For like, yeah, they're known for being technologically far advanced, like way more advanced than any other civilization in the entire galaxy. Like they have sniper rifles that will set up like literally half a planet away from something and shoot it.
Oh God.
Like that's they're nuts. They're like the anime Voltron Power Ranger hyper techno civilization of Warhammer. And they're cool. They're also weak as shit on the tabletop apparently, and a lot of people hate on them. So that's the Tau.
Fair.
And then just to touch on things real quick, I mentioned Chaos, I mentioned the Imperium. One of the biggest splits in factions is that there are humans who are dedicated to Chaos, and they are known as Chaos Marines typically, servants of Chaos. Chaos Marines will enslave other humans and bring them to the side of Chaos, and then there's the side of the Imperium of Man. If you were to look at a battlefield, the Imperium of Man also has these things that are called I think they're called electroflagellants, and these are people who have been given the opportunity to repent their sins against the Emperor by having their limbs taken off and replaced with like these giant like flail things, and then they're just injected with like chemicals that make them rage out and like a blind rage until they die on the battlefield, and that's how they perform their repentance. And then the Chaos Space Marines are like all tainted with chaos and shit. Like there's Mortarion who worships Nurgle and has like flies flying around him all the time, and he's like all about plague and shit. If you were to look at a battlefield with both sides, you'd probably like, I don't know who the good guys are. Like, is it the guys who have these like repentant soldiers that are like barely human anymore, that are like skinned and flayed and messed up, and they're like putting the almost dead soldier into the exoskeleton of a giant robot so he can keep fighting? Like, is it that side, or is it this guy with the flies all over him? I don't know. Like that's pretty much how Warhammer plays out. Like there's not really a good guy, there's just war. It's called Warhammer. Like it's called Warhammer. That's all there's ever going to be is war.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. And I've learned enough about it to now talk about it for about an hour and 25 minutes.
Yeah, there you go.
There we go. So if you want a part 2, I think a good thing that we could do is we could kind of break down the Space Marine chapters, because there's so many of them. I'll just give you my personal favorite. I've read the book. There's a chapter that's headed up by a Primarch named Alfarius, and at the beginning of the book he says, "I am Alfarius. This is a lie." And Alfarius was a Primarch who was actually a twin. But then in the book, it says that his twin dies, but then in his regiment, he purposefully recruits and like genetically modifies people to be taller, and they're all bald like me now. They all have shaved heads, and they all look like him. So like whenever he's doing something somewhere, he'll also have other parts of his regiment somewhere. Like he's all about subterfuge and espionage and shit like that, and tricking people. So Zinch probably loves him. But like at the end of the book, after all of this crazy shit has happened and you don't know if it was him or his brother who died, he says at the end of the book, "I am Alfarius. This was a lie." And you're like, what the fuck? Like,
Interesting.
It's really good. It's a really good cyclical wrapping of the book. And I that's the thing that I love. Like, that's probably my favorite chapter for that reason. Just because, like, you're like, wait. Where are they? And who's the real one? And everyone's like, we don't fucking know, man.
That's cool. I like that.
Yeah. Yeah. So if we do a part 2, I'll probably get into the Imperium of Man. I'll touch on, like, the chapters and like rogue traders and the bureaucracy that's taken over the galaxy, just shit like that.
Yeah, like it. Interesting universe.
So what do you think?
Yeah, it's cool. Definitely rich in lore and lots of different bad guys.
Yeah, who do you think Henry Cavill is going to play? Nurgle?
Well,
I'm just kidding. You think he's going to play the giant guy with a mouth in his stomach?
I think so. That fits.
No.
No, I think we haven't gotten into the Marine divisions, but if there's like a Marine leader or commander or general, I think he's going to play like some kind of ranking official on the Marine side.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
it's hard to say. He might play the Emperor.
I hope he plays a member of the Imperial Guard, because the Imperial Guardsmen are human size. So I think it would just be like so much cooler to have him be a member of the Imperial Guard and like be normal size, and everyone else around him can be normal size for filming. And like if they do, I know that you said he was only a voice. If they do the Primarchs, right? If they do the Space Marines, if they do all of these stories that have these like humans or, you know, like genetically modified humans or god emperors that are like just beyond human proportion, I honestly hope that they do it completely CG. Like,
yeah, well, we only know he's
like the Astartes video that I sent you.
Yeah.
I hope it's like that.
Well, we don't have a lot of information about it yet, and as of right now,
Yeah.
the speculation from what we do know is that he's just a voice, which some people have speculated he might just end up being the voice of somebody in the armor the entire time. But I also think with somebody like Henry Cavill, you'd want to have him be there.
His face.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's a really cool character, and I got done with his book not too long ago. His name's Caiaphas Cain, Caiph, I think US, Caiaphas Cain, or it might be IS, Caine, I think. Caiaphas Cain is a commissar in the military, like the militarum, like the Astra Militarum, yeah, the space military, and he is all about self-preservation. So he's like the funniest, most self-preserving, like counterintuitive officer ever to exist. And the way that he gets in and out of different predicaments just absolutely, like, it brought a smile to my face the whole time I was listening to the book. The book's called For the Emperor, and he essentially finds himself in the middle of like a heretic, or not like a chaos plot, or like a planet that's kind of like rebelling, rebellion plot. He finds himself like in the middle of it, and like they're supposed to be negotiating a peace treaty with the Tau, and like there's all this shit going. It's really, really cool. I highly recommend reading that book too. Yeah, just a few books that I would recommend just off the rip, because I've gone through a few of them now. I really like the great work with Belisarius Cawl. I think it's super entertaining, and it sheds a lot of light on the universe itself. If you're going to listen to the audiobook, the only thing that I would point out is there is a sonic place marker that marks both like the present tense and the past. So like you'll hear like the guy who's reading the book say bang, bang, and like it'll be transferring from the past to the present, or the present to the past while he's saying that. And like in the book, I'm sure it reads a lot more smoother than it does, because while I was listening to it, I was like, wait, where are they now? Like what's going on? And then I really recommend The Infinite and the Divine, aka Grumpy Old Men, but it's aliens in space.
Yeah.
Like really, really, really recommend it. That book had me cackling. Like there's this part where Trazen tricks Orican and leaves him trapped under a planet, and Orican has to like dig himself out from the dirt. And they're robots, but they can still like feel pain and stuff. And like Orican's essentially there for like hundreds of years trying to get himself out. And then Trazen shows up and he's like, "Oh, you're almost out. Good job." Like it's really fucking funny.
Damn.
It's like cartoony.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
What would you be more excited to learn about in the universe if we did more?
Ooh, that's a good question. I guess more about the Marines, probably, because we didn't really touch on them. So I'd probably want to know more about what their deal is and what's going on. So
we'll do that. But for my next deep dive, we'll do Space Marines.
Okay.
And I'll just go through all the factions
next
and
season.
We'll go over who betrayed, and I'll probably have better details on it. I might have even, if anybody's listening to this and they're a huge Warhammer fan and I messed up any of the facts, I apologize. I'm a noob. That's
Don't
it.
worry.
I'm doing the best that I can, and I didn't want to sit down and just read it all off of paper or make it sound super scripted. I wanted to make it more conversational. I wanted to kind of like jump around a little bit and have fun.
Yeah, and don't worry if you get the hate, because I'm still getting hate for my Fallout TV show video. I still get comments.
Well, I mean, people are always gonna hate.
I still get
shit.
comments of people being like, actually, the nuke in Megaton has the Vault-Tec logo on it, which proves that they already dropped the bombs, and that was before the show. And it's just like, that's not the Vault-Tec logo. If you paid attention, Vault-Tec logo has 3 lines. That one only has 2. But
actually,
I'm tired of fighting with people in the comments, so I just like them all and move on.
Dude, just let them actually. That's gonna happen a ton with Warhammer because there's this. Okay, so the game's been around for like. It's been around since the 70s. And so not only has the lore changed over time, it's changing more now because it has its biggest audience it's ever had. Like, and people get super into this. Like, I can't emphasize enough, like, if you're interested in it at all, there's different parts of the hobby that are super cool for people. Like, I've painted a couple minis. That's a ton of fun. Bryce Snyder paints amazing miniatures. Like, I was like when because he's retiring from the Marines, right? He's a master gunnery sergeant, and he's just like, I'm like, what do you do in your free time? He's like, oh, I paint Warhammer minis, which is sick. But like, I was like, dude, are you gonna paint more minis now that you're retiring? He's like, yeah, absolutely. So, and he's doing really cool dioramas too, and he's taking some of like the guardsmen and making like seemingly real world dioramas. Like scenes that could take place in our planet Earth. So I think that's really cool too.
Yeah.
There's that. There's the actual tabletop game. There's video games. I know a lot of people are enjoying Darktide and Vermintide. That's what it is. A lot of people are enjoying those games and like learning a lot about Warhammer while they were getting into them. And then of course there's so many books. 2 of my favorite books are Anathemas and Invocations. They're actually a collection of short stories. Published by the Black Library, which is the official publisher for Warhammer, but they're short stories written by fans of Warhammer. So instead of just being like these, official canonical, like crazy overarching stories, they're these little bite-sized like snippets, like views into the universe itself. I think they're really, really cool.
Nice. I'm looking forward to the next one on the next season of Deep Dives.
Good.
Yeah.
So let's go back to LA and these DVDs in this trip.
Okay.
And
so Brian O'Connor is working undercover for the LAPD.
What do you got for a jam?
He is going undercover to
Brian
stop
O'Connor,
Dominic Toretto and his gang of misfits.
Dom
That includes Vince,
his
Michelle
family,
Rodriguez,
his whole family,
the other
his
guy.
family. It's his family. It's his family. And you know what? You know what else is about family? Warhammer. What's your jam this week?
Okay, so
I gotta go get to my boys. I gotta get them out of the universe. They get scattered.
My jam is an album that just came out on the 10th from a band called Judah and the Lion. Have you heard of Judah and the Lion?
No.
So their new album is called The Process, and it is 19 tracks, but intermittently cut in between are the stages of grief. So, you got denial, anger, acceptance, bargaining, and those tracks are just instrumental. And this whole album, I've already listened to it twice, start to finish, and it basically it starts off as like it's really best way to describe it. And since we're in May, which is Mental Health Awareness Month, this is an album that takes you through the steps of like having poor mental health, working on it, accepting it, and like trying to make the most of your mental health, and like making sure you take time to work on it and get to where you need to be. And one of the last songs on the track or on the album right after the track Acceptance, which is one of those like intermediate ones, is called The Long Dark Night. And it's literally just about how like you're going to go through a long dark night, but like look how great the world is when you get to the other side kind of thing. And it's just they have a folky not that I'm a huge fan of Imagine Dragons, but they feel like if Imagine Dragons and Noah Khan kind of like came together, that he has like the voice of Imagine Dragons, some of the beats of Imagine Dragons kind of, but it's more folky like Noah Khan. And it's just it's just a fucking phenomenal
like
album.
Neo-folk.
There's three songs on this album that I like.
Postmodern folk.
Kinda. The 3 songs that I would recommend, and if you like these, then I would definitely check out the whole album.
Folktronic.
Nah.
Sorry, I'm just
not really. But you have Floating in the Night, which is just a really good one. Suffer in Silence, which is abbreviated SIS on the track, and then The Long Dark Night. Those 3 I think are just really good peeks into what this album is trying to tell. And if you really want the full experience, I would recommend starting with track 1 and just letting it play all the way through.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dub folk.
No.
Dub folk?
You're done. What's your jam?
Deep folk electro. God damn it. Okay. I have a small list and then an actual jam because there's too much that came out this week.
All right. You have less than 10 minutes before I gotta get
Great.
going.
Number 1, Closure by The Plot and You. Normally a heavy band, they wrote a pop song. It's called Closure. It's amazing. Listen to it. Number 2, Willow Smith. Will Smith's daughter crushes it again. She wrote an album called Empathogen. Absolutely stunning, amazing, jazz-influenced. Blew my mind. She even does some throat singing on like track 2. It's nuts. Number 3, new Dance Gavin Dance. Andrew Michael Wells is officially the new singer of Dance Gavin Dance. He's doing all the clean vocals. That's amazing. So proud of my boy. Texted him yesterday. And, dude, I can't believe how good it sounds. They got 2 songs. They're called Speed Demon and Straight from the Heart. Absolutely amazing. One of my jams is 6, the musical. I already talked about it. Check it out. It's cool. But then my real jam, we all kind of collectively agreed on this. And I don't know if you have collectively agreed on this too, but a lot of anime dance edits have been made for it on TikTok. $1 Million Baby by Tommy Richmond.
Okay.
Is a jam. It's just a certifiable jam. When it came out, I was like, wow, the first jam of the summer is here. Have you listened to it?
I have not. Not yet.
You haven't. You haven't. Come on, you haven't heard that song. You're on TikTok all the time.
I'm not on TikTok all the time.
You're on it all the time. You're selling your stuff on TikTok. You're like, I can't believe people aren't buying these pants, bro.
Never, ever, not once.
Tommy Richmond, he's got that song. He's like, I never represent, baby. You don't know that song?
Doesn't ring a bell. Should I know it?
Go listen to it.
What's it called?
$1 Million Baby.
$1 Million Bacon.
Like, that's it. Nope. I'm not even acknowledging what you just said. I'm not doing it. We're not acknowledging what you said at all, Odie.
No, I don't recognize this.
You're listening. I see you bobbing your head. You don't.
I'm shaking my head because I don't recognize it. I'll listen to the whole thing.
You're a heretic.
I'm a heretic? Thank you.
That's what they call people in Warhammer when they want them to die.
Oh, shit. God damn. All right. Fine. I see how it is.
You have a very memeable face.
God damn it. When they're out of Kirkland water bottles.